Okay, so before I get to any introductions, I want to know stuff about some of yous. How many of you know what that icon is? 1, 2, 3. Okay. It's Moodle. I have one question. What do they all have in common? I'll give you that. They all have user communities. Actually, that's really what I was looking for. What about My Progress? Does it have a user community? Okay. What is a user community? A user community, if I can get the mouse to work. Okay. First of all, how many of you know what this page is? Anybody ever visited this page? Okay, so this is My Knowledge Map's user community support page. Okay? Now, by user community, what I effectively mean is, rather than turning to My Knowledge Map to answer all the questions, we help each other. Okay? So I'll give you a little bit of background about me. I come from a learning technology background, or e-learning background. I'm the learning technologist for the clinical school in Cambridge. And my job is to support the online learning, the VLE, and for the last year, the portfolio system as well. Okay, but why am I here? Because pretty much my opinion is that we need to go from these kind of little silos of dealing with our own kind of problems to this kind of community where we all talk to each other, we sit down and say, we all use the same software, how can we all use the same kind of things together, how can we use them better, how are you using it, how can I use it, can I give you any hints, can I give you tips, not just through conferences like this, but through user communities as well. She's probably asking, what do I know? Okay, so this is Mahara icon. When I used to work for Borders College in Scotland, I went to a Mahara conference and we all got very drunk because it was a free bar and I'm Scottish. I wasn't the only one. And we got together and thought, there are about 9 or 10 colleges here, all from Scotland, all doing exactly the same things. Why are we not talking to each other? Why are we not sitting down? Why are we not meeting up? Why are we not seeing not just what our learning technologists are doing, but also what our tutors are doing within their courses and everything as well? So we created that. I will point out it wasn't named by me. And actually, if you go and Google it, it's also a city in Russia or Georgia or something like that as well, which is very, very confusing when you try and follow it on Twitter. And effectively what we did is we got together, we met up, we shared liked ideas, we gave each other information that others didn't know, and we had 2 or 3 meetings and then we ended up running our own conference. And we pulled together lots of tutors together from different universities and colleges within Scotland. And again, much like this today, we had tutors, we had students, and they all stood up and they all told them their stories. And what came from that was the fact that a lot of people were doing very, very similar things, but in completely different ways. One of the other icons I showed you earlier on was the NHSE portfolio one. Now, they also have a user group, which is very oddly called Snug, but anyway. And what they do is something I think that we could look to do as a community as well. Okay? And effectively, they meet up every 3 months, and they sit around the table and they say, what's the future changes coming up? What are you doing with the system? And how can we drive this system forward? How can we drive this system along one straight line instead of, much as Jackie said, different people doing it from different things and making small requests here and there and here and there. If we all came with one single voice together, we can help direct this software in a way that both suits us and suits My Knowledge Map as well. So I think that we should effectively go from here to here and use a nice big community, all talk to each other, whether that is through the website that no one's ever seen. I know I post questions on there, and it's always My Knowledge Map that answer questions. I had a look, I think I have the last 4, maybe 5 posts on there, and the one previous one to that was about a year beforehand. So Moodle works as well as Moodle works because of the user community. It's an open source product. It works because people post questions and everybody else answers the questions. There are no central developers. Snug works because they all sit around a table and they discuss and try and get one single voice together. I think we should be try to do the same kind of thing. And that's it, really. I think we should be working together.
I think the idea of having a united voice is quite good from the users, because what we've been trying to do with this conference is share ideas from some of our best users and everything, and we could probably sort of formalise that a bit more, really, and keep everybody informed, and new ideas come up and say, well, how about this, you know, and share that with the community. So we see this as a really positive suggestion.
And the other side as well is that obviously I work for the medical school, and my progress, ignoring my showcase for a second because there will be links into that and that will come into that conversation as well. But at the moment for my progress, some things happen on the nursing side, something happen on the medical side, but actually it's the same system that we could all use effectively 70 or 80% the same, and have some small differences on each sides as well. So I think there's possibilities of doing nursing together, medicine together, but it makes more sense to effectively have one big user community together.
I think it's also been really good for the student contribution to it as well, for the students to be able to post ideas and actually say what they're thinking up there and to see what's actually going on, and the mentors as well, and practice.
Yeah, I think it would be a good idea for the whole community, and as the community as a one, because there isn't just medicine, there isn't just nursing, there are radiographers in other institutions that are using MKM, my progress, and my showcase. So to have that one community, because there are so many similarities. Certainly one of the institutions I work with, when we were initially getting up MKM for both medicine and radiography and a few other bits, it worked really well. Then when things altered, and then there was a radiography met, medicine met, healthcare sciences met, things sort of fell apart, and no one knows what anyone's doing. So I think for me it would be really good if it was a one community.
And I also think as well, because we're using exactly the same software, you may use it in one way, and you may do, every single one of us who's used the system already will have come across some sort of challenge where we've almost had to do some sort of workaround for it. Instead of trying to decide that workaround ourselves, someone else has probably already done it. And this is probably even more prevalent for those who've not joined into the system as yet. So for those who are new coming into the system, to have that user base to be able to call upon and be able to answer the questions, and not have a full reliance on my knowledge map to be sitting on the forum all day waiting to answer questions and things like that, because that's not really the best thing that they could be doing. I think that's a very, very good way to set up a system, basically. Does anyone have any concerns about doing that kind of stuff? I'll take it the opposite way.
I don't have any concerns. It's just really a comment that, already today there's common themes coming through from those of us who are using it. We've all faced similar challenges in terms of obstacles with getting over practice placements, concerns over security. So we could be sharing all of those challenges, and indeed they were in the literature in the first place from those early studies as well. So sharing some of those so that those who are about to embark on this journey are prepared for the same questions, with pre-prepared answers would be very, very helpful, I think.
Exactly. I mean, I'm not sure how many will ever know what Stack Exchange or Stack Overflow is, but there are plenty of other sites out there. So, I mean, Stack Overflow is effectively where you can ask a technical question and anyone from the world can come in and say, this is the answer to it. We have a bit of software that we all use together. This is exactly the same. And we should be able to answer each other's questions, especially for the new people who are coming and want to use the system, because it can be quite daunting.
I think for me, the issue is what would be useful is, there's more than one way to skin a cat. So as Jackie was saying, it could offer loads of tips to solutions rather than just, a one size fits all. So it could, I agree with what you were saying about, reinventing the wheel. It could give us lots of ideas of how we could solve the problem.
And saves time. Saves time.
Yeah, absolutely.
Which is all we, not got a lot of.
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, I would almost expect a forum to be lots of how did someone do such and such, and then several people reply, and then you can say, well, actually, that fits my requirements better than what you did. So,
I mean, from the company's point of view, we think this is really positive, and that's why we want to encourage it, really. And I think as a company, we want to actually sort of embrace that concept of a user group and help all of you all the time, rather than just a one-off conference like this.
Can I just make a general comment? Because I think it came to me when when you were presenting earlier, Sian, and Tom and Jackie, and it was more about the reporting. Now, I haven't fully thought all this through, but it was just something that's come up a couple of times, and it's more about, I chair boards of examiners, and I don't know how, so it is, in the future it is sort of visionary type stuff, but I was thinking there must be a way that the reporting can feed into the board of examiners material in some ways, because I don't know.
What I would actually say is you can give access to the system to anybody.
Yeah.
So just like Turnitin GradeMark, if you add somebody to the email address, you can add them as a user so that they can actually then see the reports and things on there.
Yeah.
So it literally, if you have their email address, you can add them, and then they can, so you can, because I've been thinking about this with our external examiners and things, but it's very easy to do, in fact.
Yeah. No, but I was thinking more about all the material that we have for the boards to say that the students have achieved all this information. With my knowledge map, it seems that it's all there anyway.
Yeah.
So there must be a way that it can be fed into the Moodle or the...
Yeah, I can see where you're going with that, because currently, say, because I've got, as course leader, I would verify that the students have done their EUs.
Yes.
Those EUs, they've completed that EU document and the record you, and it's, but we give this, the students used to take their EU booklet back home with it, so there wasn't any, it was only sort of me ticking or something, whereas with this, you would have the electronic information to actually present at the board, wouldn't you? That you know what I mean, rather than I can see where you're going with that. Yeah,
sort of
it would be more evidence rather than just.
It could support the systems. Thank you.
And I could actually use that question as a very good example of the type of thing that could go on that forum where others who've already looked at or thought about exactly the same could be using that system.